Kaido is a character who, while not central in any current discourse going on in the community, has been looming in the background of many debates, as his title of the world's strongest creature still has many believing that he will remain unsurpassed for the future of the story. But as with most shonen, villains in One Piece experience an extreme power cliff in the arcs after they're defeated, and almost every new antagonist is stronger than the one that came before in some way. With Kaido now being in the rearview mirror and us having a one arc gap between Wano, it's safe to say that enough time has passed. I want to go over all the characters who are able to defeat Kaido, and I won't be including any of the characters that Kaido already believes can defeat him. So this is gonna be every character that Kaido should have had in his top 5. Remember, this is just characters that can beat Kaido. Win conditions and matchup will be taken into account, so don't get on me with some, but there's no way they're stronger. You don't need to be stronger to win a fight, you just need to win. One Piece is a show where matchup and personalities play a major factor in the outcome of a battle, so I will be taking it into account if it would make a significant difference narratively. If the matchup and personalities of the character wouldn't make a major difference in the story, then I won't mention it in the video. So without further ado, let's get into it. I know y'all don't want to hear it, but Akainu is first up. Akainu has much greater narrative portrayal than Kaido. He has a better offensive devil fruit, has already shown us that he has the Haki type required to damage Kaido, and has already done well against a man that technically should be comparable to Kaido if only slightly weaker. Kaido was literally screaming in pain from attacks made by Killer and the Scabbards, was getting wide-eyed by Gamma Knife, and had hits from base ACOG Luffy putting him on the ground. I'm gonna say it once and never say it again for the rest of the video, but Kaido was not the most tired person on the rooftop. If you truly believe that, then you're just saying that his stamina and endurance as a mythical Zoan are awful, because literally no one on that rooftop besides Luffy, Yamato, and Zoro were able to deal substantial damage to him. Kid and Law didn't use their awakenings, and the gap between Killer and the rest of the Scabbards should be wide enough for them to be a non-factor to Kaido if we're gonna consider Killer a non-factor. No one glazed Akainu for going 17v1 against the Whitebeard commanders and Crocodile after taking full power bloodlusted shots from Whitebeard while off guard, so I'm not giving Kaido that leeway either. Akainu is the only top tier in the series to have actually beaten another top tier, and with him being set up as a future opponent for a much stronger Gear 5 than the one that beat Kaido, it's very clear that Akainu would be able to defeat Kaido as well. Akainu's win condition is simply chipping Kaido down until he can no longer fight, and Akainu has enough stamina to be able to go toe to toe when banging out with Kaido. Nothing in Kaido's arsenal can one-shot Akainu. Kaido wouldn't be able to blitz Akainu unless he was distracted by something else, and Akainu can do more than enough damage to Kaido to put him out of commission. This is the same thing for Kuzan. He fought Akainu for 10 days, and while he lost, he still fought Akainu for 10 days. He's essentially portrayed to be over Garp because Aokiji was clearly the more conflicted fighter out of the two, took more hits, and was still the one that was up at the end of the fight. While I don't think Garp is as strong as a bloodlusted hybrid Kaido, he's definitely stronger than base ACOG and ACOG Gear 4 Luffy, simply off the fact that he's tiered and portrayed the same as the other admirals. And Kizaru was able to body Luffy so hard in Gear 4 that he didn't use it on Egg yet again after the fact. Base ACOG was shown to be putting hands on Kaido numerous times throughout the rooftop, meaning that Kuzan would also be capable of putting hands on Kaido as well. I know y'all don't want to hear, but the simple fact that a fatigued and damaged base ACOG Luffy didn't get immediately steamrolled but was able to put hands on Kaido numerous times just goes to show that he's not nice like that unless he's in his murderous drunk form. You guys can use the Kaido was holding back argument, but unlike with Aokiji, who held back because he was basically facing somebody who's essentially his father figure, Kaido has no reason to hold back against Luffy. He wasn't holding back against Yamato, and Yamato's performance against Kaido was similar to or worse than how Gear 4 ACOG Luffy and base ACOG Luffy were performing against him. So that argument doesn't work concerning this debate, and if we're really gonna keep it in character and really say that Kaido was holding back against somebody who possesses an ability that he says only the strongest people in the world possess, then he'd end up holding back on Aokiji too, because he'd underestimate him and end up getting critical hits done on him early in the fight, just putting him at a further disadvantage. Aokiji has a technique required to damage him, has counters to all of his flame attacks, and is fast enough to not get speed blitz, and even if you think he does get speed blitzed, he has enough durability to get back up instantly from anything Kaido could possibly throw at him. He has better matchup via negating the majority of Kaido's moveset with his devil fruit, and has shown better stamina and endurance in being able to fight for 10 days with somebody way stronger than anything Kaido fought up until Year 5. This is another one I know y'all don't want to hear, but Kizaru is up here as well. Yes, I think all the OG admirals have a shot at beating Kaido. You can tell me in the comments how brain dead I am after this section. The OG 3 being able to defeat Kaido doesn't contradict anything in the story, because the Navy literally can't take out the Emperors because they're meant to keep balance in a new world. It's the same reason why they didn't dissolve the Warlord system until they had a viable proven method of replacing them. Just because the admirals could beat Kaido doesn't mean they will in story. This isn't the old era where top tier marines are just sailing the seas and demolishing great pirates. This era is different now, and political balance and stability is much more important. If the Navy just destroyed all 4 emperors, no one would be able to keep order in the New World, and the Navy would be spreading itself too thin between the 4 Blues, the Grand Line, and the New World. Kizaru is shown essentially being so far above Gear 4 that Luffy doesn't even try using it again on Egghead after Kizaru bodies him in it. Whether or not he used ACOG and Snake Man is irrelevant because he's a blitz and 1 shot above base Gear 4, meaning the boost from ACOG wouldn't be relevant to Kizaru since Luffy immediately goes Gear 5 to compete instead of using Gear 5 at the start of the fight, indicating he thought Gear 4 would have been enough as he started out with Conqueror's coding, which Kizaru easily handles. Another thing I also have to mention is that Kizaru didn't use any Haki in his fights with Luffy. You can argue all you want, you don't see it anywhere on Kizaru. And if he was using armament Haki, it wasn't the black coating, which is a superior version to the invisible coating which Rayleigh spoke about during the pre-time skip. And even if he was using the invisible coating, he definitely wasn't using the advanced version of that Haki, which we know he has. Not even going on the mentally conflicted Kizaru agenda, which is made clear time and time and time and time again, with the anime literally emphasizing these moments since y'all didn't want to acknowledge them in the manga. Kizaru is much faster, has the means to damage him, and more than likely also has future sight due to him casually reacting to Snake Man. Kaido is shown being unable to keep up with Snake Man spam and is shown being tagged by characters much slower than Snake Man. I'd even go as far as saying that Kaido would flat out be unable to blitz Kizaru with any attack in his arsenal, and it would be incredibly difficult for him to even land a hit on Kizaru to begin with. And again, even if he did, he wouldn't one-tap Kizaru because Kizaru is shown still being conscious after an attack stronger than anything Kaido has shown besides maybe his Death Destroyer Thunder Bagua. Now when I include Garp, I'm saying Prime Garp mainly because it's the easiest one for me to defend. He was the strongest marine in his generation back in the day, somebody who was going toe-to-toe with Roger, and somebody who also earned the respect of both Whitebeard and Rocks. The fact that Kaido didn't even have him in his top 5 either means that he was hiding out on Wano so long that Garp was unable to run the fade with him in his prime, or that Kaido simply wasn't including marines in his top 5. Less of an argument, I shouldn't even need to say that Prime Garp beats Kaido, but hey, somebody's gonna tell me that he can't because, well, he's the world's strongest creature, so... Just like with everything else, Sengoku leaches off Garp's spot on this list as well. Sengoku is portrayed / stated to be Garp's equal on numerous occasions. He's a confirmed Conqueror's Haki user, even before Garp for that matter, which for someone of his caliber essentially confirms that he also has ACOG. If you really want to say that Sengoku doesn't have ACOG, hey man, read the story better. Roger calls for him and Garp specifically when asking for a challenge, and he was ready to run the fade with Shiki, somebody who's a rival to Roger and Whitebeard. Sengoku is also somebody who was putting hands on Kaido if he was in his prime, and there's no shot that Kaido would be banging blows on him since he was a mythical zone as well. Speaking of Shiki, I also gotta add Shiki to the list. Shiki doesn't have the Conqueror's Haki statement confirmed, but come on, this man is somebody who was rivaling Roger and Whitebeard, 2v1 Sengoku and Garp, and still destroyed half of Marineford, meaning he was either A, fast enough to be floating ships up into the air and dropping them at a massive rate, causing the destruction while fighting Garp and Sengoku, or B, was fighting Garp and Sengoku both for so long that he simply destroyed the battlefield naturally, or C, was banging blows so destructive with Garp and Sengoku that he was able to destroy that much of Marineford in a short period of time. Prime Shiki is a character nobody wants to give his flowers even though they know he deserves it, and the kind of flowers I'm giving him is gonna be the kind that he's putting on Kaido's tombstone after he defeats him. Capping out the old era is gonna be Harald. His son, as a baby, has durability similar to Kaido's. He was banging blows with Rocks, who Kaido says would probably defeat him, and he was simply just a better version of Kaido, having over 100 years worth of battle experience on him. If I have to say more, you're just coping for Kaido, bro. There's no way you read what Harald is doing and tell me that he's not beating Kaido. Back to the current generation is Luffy. Luffy already beat Kaido, but Kaido was more fatigued. More fatigued than a guy who was knocked out 4 times, was taking much more damage during that fight, was using a technique that literally drank his stamina like Kool-Aid, and died right before he defeated Kaido, and oh yeah, after all of that, restarted his heart again after falling out of a form that literally shrivels him into an old man because it drains so much of his stamina. Like, what are we talking about, man? Luffy is clearly stronger than Kaido, not just by the end of Wano, but even clearly by the end of Egghead, and most definitely by Elbaf. I mean, good lord, we literally literally have one whole arc between when he beat Kaido and now, and people still think he's weaker than Kaido. It literally makes no sense. Luffy outclassed him in literally almost everything besides maybe technical usage of Haki by the end of Wano. He was faster, he was stronger, he was more versatile as a fighter, he had better durability, he had better offense. It's like, come on, man. But alright, we gotta keep it pushing. Moving on is gonna be Mihawk. Again, there is no way you don't think Mihawk could beat him. He literally has Shanks up on his list, and Mihawk is at bare minimum relative to Shanks. Kaido has Oden, who is implied to be a weaker swordsman than Mihawk, on his list, and Zoro, who is definitely a weaker swordsman than Mihawk, made him have to dodge his attack because it would have done serious damage, and then goes on to scar him without using Conqueror's coding. Zoro doesn't use Conqueror's coding till the King fight when he masters Enma, and when Kaido says that he felt Zoro's Conqueror's Haki, it's the same thing as when Gaban said he was able to feel Zoro's Conqueror's Haki even without Zoro using Conqueror's coding. Mihawk is definitely turning that fish into sushi. I don't believe it's obscene or even mild glazed to say that he can. Just like with Garp, I'm saying Prime Gaban. But if we say an old Gaban too, just know it ain't me. Gaban, as an old man, was putting the works on base Luffy and Zoro, with Zoro literally having to pull a Big Mom and tell Luffy to start dodging his attacks. The fact they pulled King of Hell and Gear 5 out on Gaban, while I don't think they actually needed to, it definitely shows the kind of monster that Gaban really is. Him being in his prime should at least be minimum relative to Prime Rayleigh, and is portrayed to be in a similar class to Oden as well. I don't think that Prime Gaban versus Kaido is going to be a wash by any means. In all honesty, I think they're pretty close, but Kaido does have a weakness to two-sword style, and if Minecraft has taught us anything, it's that axes are much better for damage than swords are.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Going on to the number 2 of the Roger Pirates, I got Rayleigh up next. Everything I said for Gaban applies to Rayleigh. A rusty Rayleigh was able to keep pace with Kizaru somewhat, and while I don't think he would have won, and I don't think Kizaru was trying that hard either, but a prime Rayleigh should definitely be in a similar bracket to Kizaru simply off of portrayal. I use the words portrayal and narrative a lot, but I'll be explaining that further in my agenda piece video, so until then, just bear with me. Rayleigh's a Conqueror's coder, possesses advanced armament Haki, and at the very least is portrayed above the Zoro in Wano, who would do mad damage to Kaido. Rayleigh, just like Gaban, isn't going to stomp Kaido by any means, but he's definitely putting in work and definitely has a shot at defeating him. Now I'm gonna be moving on to characters that are simply just narrative and portrayal, first of which is Dragon. I really don't see a world in which Luffy has already surpassed Dragon on Wano and just has a massive gap between them that's growing bigger and bigger. Dragon is the only Monkey D currently in his prime, and I don't think he's gonna be too off from where his father was. Kaido beating Dragon just looks weird to me in my head. If you want to try and argue with me, I don't have any feats besides him looking into the wind and ore farming, so take your easy W if you want it. Imu is someone I shouldn't even have to make an argument for. If you truly believe that Kaido could defeat him, bro, argue with the story. Garling being the father of Shanks and now possibly receiving immortality and emo abs should, I feel, give Kaido some decent working. I don't see him being too much weaker than Shanks is currently, and at the very least he should be stronger than Oden, and with him possibly having immortality like the rest of the Gods Knights and Gorosei, then Kaido wouldn't be able to defeat him regardless unless he knows the special way to use his Conquerors, because it's definitely not just coding, since Luffy used that on the Gorosei and they were still regenerating. Kaido probably just wouldn't be able to damage him simply out of the fact that he has immortality, so Garling would win the fight by default. Ending off the list is gonna be Blackbeard. Now I know y'all don't want to hear this. If it's a fight that Blackbeard is taking seriously, no running and sweating, I personally believe that Blackbeard should win. But keeping it in character, yes, Blackbeard would probably run away from Kaido. Blackbeard has the 2 abilities necessary to basically defeat any Devil Fruit user. Him being able to defeat Law, who was able to keep pace with Big Mom, a character that has shown at minimum relative speeds and attack power to Kaido, makes me believe that Blackbeard should be able to defeat him if he really tried to. We must always remember that Blackbeard was able to catch an on-guard Shanks off guard with something fierce, and while we don't know anything about the strength of the Shanks he was facing for the most part, we do know this was close to when Shanks was dueling with Mihawk, because Shanks could have only met Blackbeard in the New World. Mihawk lives in the New World, so it's more than likely that Shanks and he dueled there, and if we're saying that he dueled with Mihawk in the East Blue, then his duels with Mihawk would have taken place at the start of his journey before he sailed back into the New World after going to Roger's execution stand on Loketown. Blackbeard is a character I don't want to go too hard on right now because I think he will get stronger, but by the time he gets stronger, I think a battle between him and Kaido wouldn't even be a contest. Not saying it would be a mid-diff, but I don't think he's gonna get that much stronger from where he is now, so I think it's fair to say that he's close to Kaido's level right now and could beat him, and then by the time he gets stronger, by the end of the series, you'll have a nice gap between where Kaido is currently. I know y'all are gonna be coming hot on me for this one, and I'm ready for you. If I stop replying to your comments after a while, it just means I've started working on the next video, or I'm just tired of arguing with you. If you really want to get a debate out of me for why I think what I actually think, keep the comments short so I can actually read them. This is a video I really wanted to make because the Kaido hype has just been getting to me. He's just another plateau. People believe that his title actually really means he's gonna be anything in the future, when characters in One Piece with titles always have their titles disproven when they're defeated. Whitebeard wasn't the strongest anymore by the time he lost, and Katakuri wasn't the man whose bat never touched the ground by the time he lost. Mihawk won't be the strongest swordsman anymore by the time he loses, because by the time Zoro fights him, Zoro would have been the strongest swordsman anyway. Kaido isn't the world's strongest anymore going into the fight with Gear 5 because Gear 5 beat him. This is a man who has lost 7 times. It's not even like Whitebeard or Mihawk where they're actually undefeated for the most part. Kaido literally has 5 people he thinks could defeat him, and do we really believe that most characters in the story won't surpass Odin by the end of it? As always, let me know what you guys think of the video. Are there more characters I should have added? Some that I made sound much greater than they actually are? And how many characters by the end of the story should be added to the list? If you stayed to the end of the video and enjoyed it, drop a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for high quality One Piece content. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.